And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome back into the Dragon's Den. I hope everybody's doing well today. Good morning, Daisy. Hey, Projects in Dad's Garage. I hope everyone's doing well. I don't know who made that starting screen, Daisy. For those of you that don't know, Daisy did make my starting screen. She made all of the emotes and stuff that you see here. The banner, though, I think this banner was not hers. This banner up here was Karen Chow. But I hope everybody's doing well today. Doing good. Doing good. Let's see. We are, yeah, a little stressed, but doing good. Mrs. Dragon is coming back from Charlotte and a conference out there that she's been at most this week. So she'll be coming back today. I've got a hard stop at 12:30 to drive into Raleigh to meet my parents for a late lunch, and then go pick up Mrs. Dragon from the train station. And then tomorrow, I get on an airplane to go to Frankfurt. So just a little chaotic, we'll say that. It's just a little chaotic. We're going to go over the stealth changer tool head situation. I was working some last night and working some this morning. Well, I should say I was working until 2 o'clock last night doing wiring. So let's hope that all of my tool heads are good. I got up this morning, was working on the last two. Just had to take them apart and I'll explain why. But yeah, doing good. We're going to finish up the one last wiring on the tool head. Should go pretty quick. And then we're going to switch over into building our Deposition Sound FDMGeos. And I'll show those off here in just a second. Yes, I leave tomorrow. I believe Luke and Audwina from Luke's Lab left today. I leave tomorrow. I know a few other people left either Friday or they're leaving today. I believe she's on Discord. If not, you should be able to find her on X, Projects in Dad's Garage. But let's see where we're at right now on our tool heads. The bench is a slight mess of tools and everything. But speaking of tools, we've got our 2 Galileo base tool heads are completely wired up. Each one's wired slightly different, and by that I mean the routing of the thermistor and hot end wires are slightly different between them. But basically what I tried to do on most of them is we brought them up on the left side, routed them behind this back panel, between the motor and this back panel, and then brought them up and in. You'll notice that this one is using the black standoffs. If I use the standard 22 millimeter standoffs, because this whole thing sits back because of the center plate here, this is not flush. It sits about 2 millimeters back. So if you remember me telling you right, these black standoffs, these normal black standoffs that I have are 20 millimeters, which gets us pretty darn close to being right flush with this so that we don't damage that connector. Then we've got our 2 LDO motor tool heads, pretty similar. I did bring the hot end and thermistor wires around back behind and up. There's at least one that I came in this way though, for whatever reason. This is using the 22 millimeter standoffs because this is slightly less deep on the actual extruder piece. We did use the colored standoffs there, but all the wiring's done up. I was working on one of the boards though, and I did pop a wire. So I'm gonna see if I can get this new piece crimped on there and see if I can get this pin out. If not, I might just cut all three right at the connector, repin it, because I do have plenty of the pins and I do have plenty of the PH connectors. They're just not as fun to work with. But let's just finish getting this thing assembled. This will be all four tool heads done. I'll set them aside and we'll get started on the Deposition Sound speakers. And I think I saw Waldo may have popped in. Waldo, if you are here, I did send you a note on X about a subscriber code. If you could take a look at that. So basically what I'm doing is I'm just taking my wires and doing a crisscross, because the this 3-pin here is the LED and this 3-pin is the hot end fan, and we've got a 2-pin for the part cooling fan, and they're all over on the left side region of the board when you're looking at it from the back. So I'm just trying to crisscross my wires there just enough that I can get the extruder on without mashing any wires up. Kind of goes right around the back of the motors, fairly easy. Tighten this. So if you guys remember right, on the Galileos, we had a really long cable. So that's the other thing I did last night, was I just laid these two motors side by side, figured out about what the length was, cut these cables, and then re-terminated them. Fairly standard and easy-ish to do. Okay, so we've got that cross, we got that cross. We're going to take the motor mount, set it right on top here. We'll grab some M3x6 button heads. Go ahead, get the motor wire, go in there. You there, you there. Let go on top. Screw goes in. So I'm using M3x6s to get the plate mounted. I've got M3x6s down here. And if you remember right, that's just where the little tabs on our board are going to slide into. So we're just going to slide the board on there. And that helps line it up. Now we are going to have to use M3x8s here. These 6s just don't go deep enough to get into the heat set inserts that were put in from the back. And I just grabbed an M3x6 out of my M3x8s. Pretty sure there's probably going to be more than like that. Hey, Kenneth, welcome on in. How are you doing this morning? Hopefully you're doing well. And once again, remember folks, the goal of these screws is just to hold the board in place. We're not trying to ugga-dugga it down. We don't need to snap anything on the board or crack the board or do anything like that. We're just trying to hold it in place. So as soon as you feel the tension change, you're done. The bottom two screws that are going into the tabs here, these are going into plastic. The top two mounting screws that are actually holding the board in place are going into heat set inserts that were installed in the back of the plastic. Okay, so these wires over here are the ones that we're going to have to cut to length and do our stuff with. So we'll go ahead and just bend our wires around and in, kind of figure out where we want our wire lengths to be. And we will be doing some more wiring today as well as we get into the speakers. Down here as I start to do this part. So the folks over at Deposition Sound, love the fact they're supporting the channel. They did give me a hefty discount on the speakers that we will be building for the channel in order to build them on the channel and get some more exposure for both me and them. And, you know, little note, these speakers you will see on many streams in the future. Darn. What is going on with me today? Trying to get things wire stripped. We're using the barrels that came in the kit, but yeah, Deposition Sound, they're working with the channel, and this is going to give us a set of speakers that we can use as monitors during the stream, and then also for music around the shop when we're not streaming, because, you know, it's important to kind of jam out a little bit. And then one of the other side things is I currently am using the speakers from the monitors up here, which are fairly anemic, and they come from the back side of the monitor. So it's kind of hard to hear even at full volume, especially if you're trying to play a game or something. And let me explain what I just did here. So when you crimp these, it gives that little serrated edge there. And what I do is I cut the last length off of that serrated edge, okay? Because if you don't, then you're gonna have metal exposed. When you do it in the tie down, you'll have metal exposed. They won't go in all the way. And I always trim these down if I'm going into the smaller connectors, and if I put them in and there's still a lot showing down at the bottom, I'll trim off another little section. You're still going to get good bite on the actual wire, but it prevents any type of short at the connector from arcing across these two pins. So if you're going into the bigger connectors, like the heated bed connector on a board or something, you normally don't need to do this, but on the hot end connectors and on the tool head board connectors, I always trim these down to ensure there's no real exposed wire that can be an arcing concern. So we got that in. Then we're going to come out and check out our thermistor wires. Thermistor wires, these are the pH connectors, so they're really kind of tiny, and you don't need to leave a lot of exposed wire here. So we're going to take off maybe a millimeter of the insulation. Definitely no more than that. And like I said, once we get this tool head wired up, we will transition immediately over to start building the FDMGeo speakers. I also have the FDM 8S or FDM S8, one of those two. We'll take a look here in a second. It's the powered subwoofer that goes with the set. And that way we'll have those done as well. But and those of you that have been following along know that we're looking for shop space. We just put in an offer for a shop space. We'll see what happens. It's going to be a little bit harder with me going over to Germany, so it may not get completed before Thanksgiving, but we'll see how fast we can make things move. But we're kind of chomping at the bit to get the shop space because Mrs. Dragon wants her house back. So she's all excited about potentially getting some shop space and getting it cleaned up and straightened up so that we can start moving printers over into it. Now, getting the pH connectors into the housing, I've noticed has been a bit more of a pain in the butt and challenging. It's just the housing itself. Nothing different. Like I said, it's just the housing itself, and of course, you're using wires that like to bend, so you may have to gently persuade it along. Be careful that you don't pierce the wire when you're doing this. Yeah, see, that one went in a lot easier. It's just a matter of getting it like completely vertical when you're pushing it in, as well as you know, not having anything up with the little locking pin. So that goes there, that goes there. This wire, which needed to be about another 5 millimeters longer in my opinion, and I am not going to try and do a short extension like that because that could be worse. That goes there. This is our 3-pin for the lights, which goes in this connector here. This connector will be for the probe, and remember I have to fix a pin on that. That one will go there. This 2-pin connector right here is left empty. 3-pin is the hot end fan, and then the 2-pin over here is our other part cooling fan. And then I'm going to add a cable tie right here at the back side. Hey Hutch's Makerspace, how's it going? I hope everybody's doing well today. Like I said, it's turning into a little bit more chaotic of a Saturday than I wanted, but it is what it is. You know, parents want to have lunch with me before I head over to Germany, so we'll go do the you know, hang out with the parents at lunch, go to Cheesecake Factory, get some cheesecake, and then we'll go hang out at EcoVate for a little bit, maybe play around with the Optimus P1 some. It is moving, it is pushing plastic. However, the movement, there's something still not happy. We're trying to make it go a little bit faster than normal, but yeah, we looked and their stock speed was like 65 millimeters per second, and attempts to go faster, and it really doesn't like it. So we're gonna have to take a look at that and try and figure out what we can do to make life better, because big nozzle and stuff, we want it to go faster. All right, so what we need to do now is see if I can dig that pin out without breaking the tab or the connector, which is going to be an easier said than done on these tiny things. Because I think if I can get the pin out, I can get the wire recrimped and installed, and we'll be good. All right, so pin is out. Kind of push that plastic tab back down in place so it. Normally you can redo the pins once or twice before you either break the plastic tab that locks it in place or break the actual locking tab on the pin itself. Okay, pin is back on. Now let's see if we can get it back in the housing. All right, that's in. Now we just need to install it back in here. The pinout is the same when you look at this, regardless of which way the cable is inserted. So, provided they didn't really screw up the polarity on the custom-made cables that they provided with their kits, because we're using a custom-made cable, not the generic cable that comes with the octotap sensor. This is a custom-made provided cable for this connection here on the stealth changer. And boom, there we go. We've got another tool head fully wired up. All we need to do is get these mounted in there. And yeah, we're good to go. So now we've got all 4 of our tool heads and docks in place. Let me get these tools put up, and then we'll switch over. We'll move the docks and everything out of the way. We'll switch our mindset and our setup over to the other project where we'll get out a bunch of tools again. But it's good to mentally reset as you switch projects. And for me, coming in and kind of putting things away and reorganizing helps in doing that mental reset, or at least for me. So how about you? I know projects, you wind up jumping between projects occasionally on your stream just due to, well, this part's not working. We need to print a different part, which means you're going to task switch. So what are some of the things that you do to kind of reset between different projects? Hey, Killer, how's it going? You're going to jump in and go straight to alert. Okay. Okay, so that's done. These 2 go down here. We will be doing some wiring and crimping and stuff on this next project, but like I said, we'll put everything away. We'll clear the table off and start fresh with a fresh mindset. And I'm going to make sure that all of these pH connectors get put with the rest of my pH connectors down here. All right, that's done, that's done. We're not going to use these 4. They'll go in the bin down here of heat set recovery. But there we go. We've got our modular docks and our tool heads are all built. So we've got all 4 tool heads built. First 2 are going to be orbiters. The second 2 are Galileo 2s. Very similar in overall design. I mean, they're using the same gears and stuff. It's just slightly different packaging. All of our tool heads are numbered. These will illuminate. I did not do nozzle lights. I just did the illumination lights. So, don't go busting things, Luke. We haven't even made it to getting these things on the printer yet. We're going to set those down there so they're out of the way, because these next parts are a little bit bigger. And we will need the CA glue. Yeah, that's, you know, I would rather get tools out, but I always reset and put tools back so that when I go into the next project, I know, right, we've got our drivers here. We've got deburring tool, some markers, a couple of blades, and then a couple of tweezers. I've got some quick and ready, you know, like washers, heat sets, standard M3 fasteners, and then right over here, I have M3 socket heads, M3 button heads, M5s are over here in the black. I haven't labeled them. Behind the M3, there's one going this way that's got M2 hardware. And that's, you know, where I've been setting all this stuff up. And I believe these are what used to be the screw units. I think Zombie renamed those. They were the screw units. But now we are going to kind of switch tack. And we're going to start building some FDM5Geos. So these are speaker sets from Deposition Sound. They have a 5-inch woofer at the bottom, a 1-inch dome tweeter at the top. They will have crossover boards that get mounted in here as well. And then after this, once I'm still waiting on the parts to come in. I've got the FDM5Geo parts here. But once this is done, we'll get into the FDM, I believe it's 8S, which is the subwoofer system that goes with this. So really cool. And once again, this is going to come in handy when we close on the shop space and we can get into the shop space. The plan will be to move the streaming setup to the shop space and stream some of the shop stuff as we're doing the build out. All right, these are the standoff for the crossovers that get mounted inside here. These, so the cabinets I had multiple failures on, nothing to do with the print files and everything to do with the cruddy power I have out here. We had power blips while I was trying to do these enclosures. Let me pop this back off. This main enclosure prints like this, and it's sized specifically to fit 256 by 256 by 256, so it'll go on any bamboo X1, P1, A1. It won't go on the Mini, but the A1, the Centauri Carbon. I was printing these on the Kitty, and the issue I kept running into was power blips because these are day-long prints and trying to do power loss recovery. So this one, I do have a blemish line. But that blemish line is an external perimeter and only an external perimeter. It's solid through and through. You can kind of see back here where it started to seal up, but it just so happened that where it stopped, it started back up on an external line when I was doing the manual swap over. And I had one that finished and we didn't catch it in time, and wherever that line was, it split at that line. So because it was a through and through split, I'm not going to use it. This one should be fine. If there's an issue, I will get more filament and reprint it. Right now, I'm going to have to get more filament anyhow. The FDM8Geos, or excuse me, the FDM8S, which is the powered subwoofer, is 4 large prints. 2 of them are just under 900 grams. The other 2 are around 1,130 grams of filament. So you will have a filament swap. And I am going to set up the infinity flow for that particular operation. So let me get a couple of things going. We're going to need to get a website up so that we can go through and build. And there we go. We're going to jump over here to the website real fast. So this is actually what we're going to be building. This is the FDM5Geos that have the nice little frame. The surround on the big speaker is going to be a gold. I thought I brought it up. What did I do with it? Wait, let me rephrase it. I know I brought it up. What did I do with them? Because I grabbed them. At least I'm 100% sure I grabbed them and brought them up. Anyhow, it's a gold trim ring that just friction fits in. So we'll get to that when we get to it. The kit comes with everything that you're going to need down here to put this together. Got a lot of examples of the speaker kits. I am looking at doing something like this clamp. This is a swiveling or a clamp with a swivel on it. And that way I can have the speakers facing me while I'm streaming at the other shop. And then I can turn them around and actually have them play into the shop just during normal work hours when they're doing stuff. The crossovers are all handmade. What we got here, these are the high output woofers. With the crossover, you got 12 dB second order filters, which means something if you're an audiophile. I used to be way back in the day and kind of got out of it. Coated paper cones, smooth and accurate down to 40 to 50 hertz. Soft dome tweeter. We got to be careful when we install that. We've got our cabinet design, which does have a port in it to make the waves sound a little bit better. Thought it had all of the, like what's in the kit in here, but we'll go over to the assembly guides for the FDMGeos. So once again, 256 cube build volume is what you need, and it uses it all. That's why I did the Keyed, is that way it's not basically going edge to edge. I hate trying to do edge to edge on any heated bed. They prefer a 0.6 nozzle, but you can just do it with a 0.4 and just go with wider extrusions or more wall counts. They've got your print settings. Please, please, please follow this. All right, follow the print settings to the T. They do have a project-specific 3MF in there if you're going to be doing it on a bamboo. But yes, everything is included here. We've got our wire. We've got the, I thought they were 1 inch, but they're 3/4 inch tweeters. We've got tweeters. We've got our packaging. We've got our polyfill. This is the infill that you add that tricks the sound waves into thinking the enclosure is actually bigger than it is. Beatsies. Nice connectors for doing the internal to external connectors. Some heat sets, screws, heat shrink connectors, and some standard crimp connectors. These will be the 2 crossover boards. And then our designer series woofers. And of course, because we love having stickers, we've got some basic Deposition Sound speakers, as well as their logo speakers. So we'll have these out and about and around. Hey, good morning, 3D Medic Vince. How are you? Hope you're doing well. Yeah, and all that was nice kitted up. Plenty of packing material. That's going to be good. We're going to hold on to that and keep that stuff. And we're going to go ahead and get into the build of this and see if we can't make some progress. Like I said, I do have a hard stop in about an hour and a half to go meet my parents. So let's switch over. Of course, why would the screen be set up appropriately? Here we go. Hey, Hutch's Makerspace, how's it going? Working on number 3. Number 3 set of speakers or what? So 2 crossover, well, there's a crossover PCB, some 12-inch wire, some 6-inch wire lengths, M3 heat set inserts, flathead socket cap screws, different plugs, and so forth. We have all the printed parts. I've got the beauty rings here somewhere. I just literally don't know where I sat them down when I brought them up here. Or maybe I didn't bring them up here and I stopped somewhere along the way. It's been a morning. In fact, give me 1 second. I'm going to go down and maybe I did leave them downstairs when I made coffee right before the stream. Yep, I did. Okay, so there's our beauty rings. All of the filament for this project is EPAX 3D. Oh, you're on coffee number 3. Got it. Got it. Yeah, I do that from time to time. Okay, I'm going to move these out of the way. The first thing that we're going to do is put some heat sets in. And heat sets are going to go 4 into the front face and then into our standoffs here. So we'll get the heat press over here. These are a little bit different than the ones that we're used to using. I'm waiting on the Deposition Sound folks, but I'm supposed to have a subscriber link. So once that gets set up, we will have a subscriber link that will allow you to get 11% off of a set of speakers. So thank you to Deposition Sound, not only for sponsoring this, but also for giving us that subscriber discount. And you want these to be just at the top or just beneath the surface of the print. And like I said, these are a little bit longer than we're used to, simply because they're going to be holding the weight of that woofer. You want to make sure that you're going in as straight as possible when you're doing these. And they ask you to do concentric infill for top and bottom. And what that does, I don't know if we can get that to show, but you see how it does that kind of eyelet piece around these? I think that comes out looking pretty good, and it makes the top layers on here just look so much better than having a standard, cross-cut angle against it. So I kind of like that. I'm going to keep that in mind for future prints. And the filament in here, once again, is EPAX PETG. PETG is the recommended filament. You can use PLA if they're going to be indoors only. If they're going to be outdoors or exposed to light through windows and stuff like that, you probably want to use PETG. It's going to be near a heat source. Say if you got them sitting next to a TV or something like that where it's going to have some heat generation, PETG is going to be your better option. If you decide to do ABS or ASA, those are materials you can use as well. Remember, ABS is not UV tolerant. So once again, if you have non-UV protective windows, you either need to put UV film on them or go with ASA. And don't have ABS speakers outside, and use ASA if you're going to be outside. Now, if you're going to do that, though, I highly, highly, highly recommend do prints to validate shrink compensation. All right, you need to compensate for shrinkage. HTPLA should be good. To be quite honest with you, I have not messed around with HTPLA yet. I need to. If Liz wants to talk to Joel or anybody and get me a roll sent over to play around with, I would more than like, I'm not going to say no. How about that? I'm going to go through and get these kind of lined up and ready. Press them one after another. All of the files are printed without supports. You just have to orientate them based on the guidelines that are shown. They do not come in oriented in the right direction if you're grabbing just the STLs. Once again, remember, folks, we do have new merch up there that includes pullover hoodies. I have had several people in my inner circle that have requested the zip up hoodies. So we will be adding a zip up hoodie to the merch store in the next couple of days. So Bang Merch, go ahead and link out to the Fourth Wall site. And if you're looking for a zip up hoodie, just know that I'll have options for a zip up hoodie in the next couple of days. Maybe if I don't get it done today, it'll be done tomorrow, potentially while I'm sitting at the airport waiting for my flight out. The other thing to keep in mind when you're doing your material selection is just understanding how much material is being used. Each, like the speakers that we're doing right now, the FDM5 Geos, are using just over 2 kilograms. And that's basically 2 kilos of, a little over 2 kilos for the main color, and then whatever accent color you're doing. If you decide to do these in the front pieces in a separate color, then that'll skew the amount of filament that you're having to buy in order to cover all of your prints. So just be cognizant there. You're probably still going to have to get 3 spools somehow. If you're doing the FDM8, it's 4.5 kilos basically. And pray that you don't have a print failure. And for those of you that are interested, because I had so many of the power failures, I did go ahead and get a new battery for one of my older ups, and it is now back up and running. So the Key Tech is covered by an ups right now. Yeah, it's a lot of material. Remember, these are speakers, so you want, I think these were, they say 0.6 with 2 walls. So your wall thickness needs to be at a minimum 1.2, which means if you're using a 0.4 nozzle, you have to have at least 3 walls minimum. And some of these, like these standoffs, are 0 infill, but these were a minimum of 15% gyroid. So it's just you're dealing with a lot of material because you're dealing with high-powered sound. Okay, the binding posts. We need to tightly screw on binding posts through the back wall of the cabinet with the flange facing away from the plugs. Well, it has a suggestion to use a socket. Ooh. Now that's something I didn't grab, was sockets. I may have to go and grab socket. Say what size? No, it does not. Wheat. So we'll go ahead and unscrew these front covers for the front hold downs. Okay. So the exploded view of what we're dealing with here. Say that, and then I'm like, let me double check direction that went. So if you happen to pop these off, you've got your post. Oops. You'll have your post. You'll have the clear plastic piece that the post goes into. Okay. Yep. Then you're going to have your red or your black piece. This is identifying whether it's the power side or the non-powered side. And that's going to go in there. And then on the inside of the box, you'll have your little flange, and this is what you're going to connect your connector to go to the speaker or the crossover. And then a lock washer and a nut. So that nut's what we need a socket for. Now, is there a possibility that the socket that I have sitting right here is the appropriate size for that nut? Yes, it is. I actually have a deep wall socket of the right size in here, and that socket is a 7mm socket. So we need our cabinets. And our posts are going to go through here. I'm not sure. It looks like the power is at the top and so the red one at the top, the black one at the bottom. So what we're going to be doing is inserting those through these two holes here, one at the top, one at the bottom. And then we're going to have to come in from the inside with our socket and hold that in place and socket it down. So this is our red one. So the red one is going at the top. So we'll put that through. And of course, it's going to be a tight fit, so we're going to have to screw that in. And once you get it started, what you can do is, once again, grab a Allen key, go through the socket, and just thread it in. All right, so that one's all the way in. And we're going to need the Allen key there to keep that kind of straight. And then once again on the inside, we're going to put our flange, and we're putting the big side, not the thinner long side. We're going to put the big side in there. We're going to put our locking washer on there. And then our nut. All right. So there we go. We've got our flange on there. And I'm going to try and make it so that the flange is sitting facing down. And we'll use the socket to tighten things up. Making sure that the flange is in the downward position. So basically what I'm trying to do is get these set in there where this flange is always at the bottom side. So this is another red one, so that'll go on the other side. We'll grab one of the black ones. Just pop the nut off. Now, once again, this comes with all of the wiring for inside the speaker. Okay, if you need wiring for the outside of the speaker, then you will need to procure that through other means. They do have links to suggestions on their website. And those links do go to Amazon. But any type, I mean, you're looking for RCA connectors, get yourself some nice RCA connectors. If you're spending for some good quality speakers, get some decent RCA speaker or speaker cable. And then I did pick up the amp that they suggest. There's one that seems geared towards if you're just doing the 2 speakers, and then there's one if you're using your powered subwoofer. And once again, we're going to put our tab in there. Put our lock washer on there. And we'll put our nut on there. I mean, you can tap if you want. Thank you, Eagle, for wishing me luck on the trip. The trip is going to be fun. I'm getting super excited about the trip. To be honest with everybody, it's been, let's say, a hot minute since I've been in Germany, and I really do miss it. I'm looking forward to the potential of a doner kebab here soon. What is going on? Oh. What is going on and why is that not going on there? Yeah, I just wish I was there for the Christmas markets. So the Christmas markets wind up, they start like 3 days after we leave, but I just can't afford to extend the trip with other things that are going on right now. Okay, so that's in there and locked down. We'll go ahead and put these on loosely. We'll have to take them off when we do our wire connections on this end. But we'll get those there. We'll go ahead and grab the other one and do the same thing over here. So once again, red goes at the top closer to the port, and the black will be at the bottom. Consistency is key, so try and keep them all the same way. Yes, I love the Christmas markets. Like, for those of you that don't know, I spent 6 years in Germany with the Air Force, and I really, really loved Germany. And Formnext is in Frankfurt, which is about 45 minutes up the road from my old stomping grounds in Wiesbaden. So super, super stoked about being back and just seeing Germany again. It's such an amazing country. And, you know, we've got a lot of history over there, which is always good to go and experience. Okay, and we're just going to put the flange on there, put the lock washer on, put our nut on there. And if you noticed, all these connectors are gold plated. So you get really good high-end components. The instructions have been really good. I did read through the instructions prior to getting started here. There's the first one, and do the second one now. Well, of course, those are color coded, so now I have to go look at the other ones and see if I put them. And I think I got lucky and did put them on. Ah! Definitely a good trick with the whatchamacallit, the Allen key to screw these in. And you know, having to screw these into the print, I don't see as a bad thing. Like I said, it may be an issue where I could tweak my shrinkage for the material, but to be honest, screwing these in and ensuring you've got a good connection is not a bad thing. Trying to make sure that the plastic ring is centered on there when I tighten this down. This is a bit fiddly to show. That's why I'm really not showing you guys as I'm doing this part. Just, it's fiddly. But yeah, I love the Christmas markets. You know, the smell of glue vine, which is it's a dark wine that gets warmed up, and every little town has their commemorative cup for each year, right? And it's like a euro deposit for the cup, and I never got my deposit back. We'll put it that way. Meaning I always kept my cup at the end of the night, and it went in my cupboard where it stayed for there we go. Okay, once again, red on the top, black on the bottom. So the red connector goes to the red side, goes to the black. We'll double check that I did it right down here. Looks like I did. All right, what's up next? Crossover assembly. Here's where we're going to need some stuff. So you have the crossover standoffs. We're going to mount the crossovers to this. So we'll go ahead and open up our crossovers. And once again, the crossovers are hand assembled here in the US, if that's a thing for you. And we'll take a look at these in just a second. They are very well assembled. Got some nice beefy components, which means we should get some really nice sound out of these speakers. Okay. So the only thing I'm going to say is words are upright. Words are upright. Words are upside down. Don't know if that is a polarized thing or not, but yeah, these are very well made, pretty beefy components. Windings are very nice. Solder joints look excellent. A lot bigger than what we're used to. And we're going to put screws in all of these. And everything here is a button head, so ensure the standoffs are a little tighter than finger tight. All right, so we're going to need to get our standoffs installed here. Hey, Tony, how's it going? Welcome on in. We are working on our Deposition Sound FDMGeos, building out our speakers here. These are 5-inch subwoofers with 3/4-inch soft dome tweeters. And we're building the crossovers. There's a crossover in each speaker set. As we were just looking, all the components are pretty beefy and hefty, and the quality of the PCBs and the assembly, which is all done by hand here in the US, is phenomenal. And because I will know, I'm going to get rid of this little blob here that's on the side. I'm going to try to. All right, blob's going to stay there. Just we'll twist it to the inside so you'll never ever see it. But we're going ahead and doing my typical assembly line fashion of building both at the same time rather than doing one and then coming back and running the instructions a second time. I will have a 11% off code if you are interested in getting a set of these speakers. I just need to, we're still working on getting the code set up in the system. But we will have at least one other stream. Like I said, I'm on a hard stop today to go meet my parents for lunch before I head over to Germany. And then after lunch, I'm going to go hang out at Ecovate 3D until it's time to go pick up Mrs. Dragon from the train station. It's about a 10-minute drive from there to the train station, where if I go from here, it's going to take me about an hour to get there. So while I'm down there, I might as well just stay there. We'll be taking a look at the Optimus P1. The Optimus P1 is moving. It is pushing plastic. It is printing. However, we're having issues every time it goes above about 65 millimeters per second speed. It starts getting unhappy, skipping steps and doing crazy stuff. Those of you that just got here, once again, here's the close-up of the crossovers. Windings used here, and all the components are very, very nicely made. And boards themselves, everything's pretty beefy traces, nicely soldered. Do I have Discord open on my screen? No, this is the instructions. Up here in the top right is the instructions that we're following. Ensure the standoffs are a little tighter than finger tight. Strip a 1/4 inch, about 6 millimeters of speaker wire from all ends of the pre-cut lengths. Attach and crimp the small blue female plugs to one of the two long cables. All right, so let's start doing that. First, we're going to take a look at the length of our cables. We should have a long and a short. Oh. So far, they're all looking to be the exact same size. They're all the same size, so we don't have long and short. What does it say? It says that we should have 16 gauge wire 12 inches long times 2. 2 wires, 2 wires. Or are they saying 2 and 2? 2 sets of long wires, 16 gauge, and then 1 short wire at 6 inches long. They're all 12 inches long, so what do you think? Should we cut this to 6, cut it in half? cut that in half, make it 6 inches. Wow, okay, the 2 long, 1 short. Gotcha. So once again, strip a 1/4 inch from all ends of the pre-cut links. And do that. Just going to separate our wires a little bit. And it says a 1/4 inch. I do. And this is 16 gauge. Trying not to send these little strips or these little pieces every darn where. Sent me something, check it out after live. Okay, I can do that, Daisy. Appreciate it. I don't have the ones where you come in from the end. I have the ones that you're doing on the side. So I'm just kind of gauging about a 1/4 inch and then popping it off. One set done, we'll do the other set, clean up the mess, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, I hope everybody's doing well today, having a good day. Hopefully everybody, if you celebrate Thanksgiving, I believe our folks up north in the Great White North of Canada have already celebrated their Thanksgiving Day. Here in the US, we're going to be celebrating it here in a couple of weeks. So I'll be going to Germany, coming back from Germany and Form next. And come back and do Thanksgiving and hopefully have a bunch of other stuff in the works as we head, make the charge into December. You'll celebrate again with your Thanksgiving stream. Nice, Liz. Yeah, we're not sure what we're going to do. I know my parents want us to come down there. The December 12th, that weekend. Oh, there's not going to be a stream that weekend. Normally that's the maker meetup. December 12th, 13th, that weekend. I will actually be up in Virginia helping my brother out. So there won't be a stream that weekend. It's hard during the holidays to keep up a stream schedule. Family commitments and all, and just life in general. What I will say as we go into the holidays, keep an eye on your friends and buddies, right? This is the time when the seasons start getting colder, and those of us that have friends and buddies that have lost friends and buddies, whether it's from military service or life in general, it's hard for a lot of people around the holidays. And so keep an eye on your friends and look for changes in behavior, and just let them know that you're there, right? Be there for your friends. Hey, Nick, how's it going? Welcome on in. Your annual event is 3 years now? Yeah. Where's your invite for dinner, sir? Free Heathen, you're always welcome if you can get down here. Like I said, I'm not sure if we're doing it, if we're just staying at home and staying by ourselves, or if we're going to be going all around. So attach and crimp the small blue female plugs to one of the two long cables. Attach and crimp the small blue female plugs to one of the two long cables. The other two cables attach and crimp the larger female plugs. Heat shrink and trim off excess from larger female terminal plugs. There was a bunch of words there. I'm going to have to, let's look at pictures. The joys of Chrome. It's not going to let me click on the pictures and make it bigger. But okay, so it looks like we're just working with the long cables right now. And I think what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing is attach and crimp the small blue to one of the two long cables. And we have a total of 6 sets of the blue crimps. Ten of those. So if these are blue, 2, 4, 6. So this goes to this cable. That will go to cable. These two. I know I'm overthinking. I wish I could get the okay picture. Fine, more than one way to skin the cat. We'll just make it big so that we can look. Down there. Crimp, crank. Okay, so we've got tweeter and woofer going in over here and here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Total for the tweeter woofer. So we're going to follow this for one speaker. I'm now wondering if I didn't drop anything. So I'm wondering if I may have been shorted on connector. We'll figure that out. Figure that out. Catch and crimp small blue female plugs to one of the two long cables. I can do that. And I need other crimper and die set. Blue crimp. Blue crimp connector is going to go in the blue slot. Yeah, it's not exotic hardware, and that came straight off, so I'm going to switch my jaw types over. And this is 16 gauge. And that didn't work either. So how am I doing wrong? It did crimp, but then we destroyed the connector. So we'll start fresh on that. Apparently these connectors are not my forte. I think. Yeah, I'm probably gonna wind up having to get a few more of these because I just borked that one way up. But that's okay. We'll be fine. Connectors are easy to get. It's weird because it feels like I'm doing incorrect. Something just doesn't feel. We'll put it that way. All right, that one was done right. Yay. Progress was made. All about getting it in the right spot on the connector. There we go. we've got those done. The rest of them get into the heat shrink side of things. Now these are crimp connectors with heat sinks or with heat shrink, so I may wind up needing to use a different set of jaws. Just because of the sizing, space limitations I'm going to have. Yeah, we'll be fine. We will make this one work as well. I'll just use my iWis. Nope, not big enough. Oh, I do where that connects. Did I? Where did that? Runaway connector. We'll have to try and find that one later. I think we're resigned to just being able to do one speaker at this point anyhow. We will make do. And get at least one of these. And that didn't work. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to have the right crimpers to get in there to do this unless I just crimp this down with a pair of standard pliers. Maybe I just used the wrong size. Yep. Nope, that's not work. It's too small. All righty. Before I destroy any more connectors, I'm going to call it quits on trying to do connectors. We're coming up on my noon stopping point anyhow. I think I have these connectors. That's the good news. The other connectors, I will have to either use my standard ferrule connectors or something. Yeah. Yep. I've got these connectors in spades, so we're good there. When I do these, yeah. I'm not sure why. I'll figure out that. We'll come back. Alexa, stop. Okay. We'll come back to doing the wiring piece on this. And I may just go out and get a slightly different set of crimpers while I'm out and about, because it does not appear that the ones that I am using are working in an appropriate manner for these. It's weird because I thought I had done them with this tool in the past. So that's what's kind of being weird to me. I guess I am going to sit here and try one more time on this. It apparently might just be hitting it in the right, getting it in the right spot on the wire. Look, Mom, unsuccessful crimp. Need to trim off the end a little bit. I'll let that cool off and then I'll trim that off. But we did get one in there. So we've got a formula for doing the rest of these. And apparently it's all about getting the jaw in the right place so that it's going to hit the metal crimp piece around the wire. Okay. So the one end's going to go like that. That's what's going to go into the crossover board. And then this is going to be the side that goes to the speaker, whether it's the high frequency, which will go to the tweeter, or low frequency, which will go to the woofer. But we will come back and work this some more. Yeah, somewhere I'm not understanding something. And so I guess that's where I'm getting a bit confused as well. So on the back side here, I'm seeing here, let me switch the so looking at the wiring here, we've got female connectors that go on to the post at the back coming into the crossover. Okay. These wires coming out of the crossover look like bare wires. Okay, got you. This has connectors on it. Okay. So I think the one long wire that has these two connectors on it go to the tweeters. This side is bare wire going into the boards. Gotcha. Gotcha. I think I understand now, which means I need to cut these off, which is going to make this short. We'll see if this still fits well or not. But see, we just needed to look a little bit further. Good news is that should hopefully still go to one set of tweeters. We have the ability, because we still have those two, to do the other set of tweeters, because they gave us extras for people like me that don't follow stuff well, apparently, and don't look ahead in the instructions. Even though I did look at the instructions ahead of time, apparently the wiring just was not registering with me. So they want us to do bare wire into the terminals. You know I really don't like doing bare wire into terminals, right? So we will most likely be doing barrels into the terminals, even if it's even if we wind up doing fiddlesticks, brain fart, metal ferrules only. So I do have just standard metal ferrules, as well as, you know, full-on ferrules in my kit. So we'll be good either way. I just don't want to do bare wire into a screw down connector if I can help it. I think now that we've figured out the crimping, we'll be good. I say that and then crimp at the wrong place again. But at least these connectors, I've got plenty of extra. I can crimp on these ones for, well, I can attempt to crimp on these ones for quite a number of days. And yes, I know I'm running into my mandatory gotta go. So I'm going to get this one crimp side done so that we're at least ready to do one speaker set. Okay. And that'll also give me a mental picture when I get back of what not to do. One of my neighbors is outside blowing leaves. All right. So there we go. There's one set done there. Like I said, I'll let this cool off and then I'll trim the excess off the end of the connectors there. So we do have one set there. I've got plenty enough wire to do another set of the long ones for the other speaker. So we're good. And I've got 16 gauge speaker wire. So if I have to redo them, I can redo them. But thank you all for being here. Like I said, I do need to head out to go have dinner with my parent, or dinner, late lunch with my parents, and then go hang out with Ecovate until Miss Dragon gets into town on the train, and then go pick her up. We will come back. We will work this. Don't worry. We'll make sure that we get all of these done. I don't know if I'll stream again before I leave tomorrow. And the fact that I don't think I'm streaming tonight. But thank you everybody for being here. Thank you for hanging out. I will do this part, the crimping and getting everything prepped off stream. And then we'll pick up getting everything wired up and stuff like that in the next stream. So thank you all for being here. And remember, next week, no streams. I'm out of the country. And I won't be coming back until Sunday, so no stream Tuesday, Thursday, or Saturday. I do hope to get around and take plenty of pictures and then either photo dump while I'm there or when I get back. It all depends on internet capability and phone capability that I have over there. But thank you everybody for being here, and I will see you guys in a week. Bye now. Actually, wow. Let me see if anybody's up that we can raid into and do the raid thing, because that's always nice if somebody's up and running. All right, looks like Tech Jeeper is doing some Cyberbrick stuff, so we're going to jump over to Tech. So thanks again for being here. No streams next week. And we'll see you guys on Tuesday, was 25th. And you guys stay safe while I'm gone. I'll try and stay safe on the trip over there. And I will keep you guys posted along the way. You all have a great weekend, and I'll see you next time. Bye now. If you're watching this later on over on YouTube, thank you so much for sticking around. If you like the content that you see today, please be sure to click that like button down below. And while you're down there, hit the subscribe button and click that bell to get notified of future videos. Speaking of future videos, there's going to be a new one just for you. Thank you. And